Entara Tassadar, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kaelaris, and today I'm going to be bringing you a game between myself and oSkCrazzy, not oGSCrazzy, because that wouldn't actually correlate to anybody in OGS at all, so it doesn't even matter. So yes, I'm going to bring you this game basically because some people did recommend or suggest or query or something to that degree about my own games and ladder games and whatnot, and since the ladder reset has happened or whatever, I have been doing quite a lot of ladder because I I can't believe I didn't get into Masters for that one placement match, because I'm pretty sure my MMR was pretty high, and I am beating Masters players now, like rank 1, 2, Diamond or whatever, and just beating Masters, so I'm hoping for that Masters promotion soon, but it's not coming. So one day it shall come, and I shall be happy. So I am going to be sending this scout out here, and this is a bit of a strange tactic that I've been working with for PvZ. I've been kind of like going against the grain, and a lot of Protoss right now are going for this kind of like 6-gate push, or even just a 4-gate, or faking an expansion and then just going for a 4-gate, like putting the Zerg off guard or whatnot. But I feel that all those are really kind of, I don't know, risky. This in turn is also kind of risky, but it can give you quite a bit of map control if pulled off right, etc. So hey, you'll have to see how it goes. We'll just see what happens. So I am going to be throwing down this first simulator at a pretty normal time, as well as that first gateway. At the same time, oSkCrazzy is just going for his pool first, which is much to my relief, as if he was going hatch first, I would have to throw down a forge and start canning him, which I don't particularly enjoy doing, but I really don't enjoy the fact that Zerg can get such a fast lead that quickly. So I have thrown this down a second assimilator very quickly here, and normally when I'm going against a Zerg player, I assume that they assume that I've thrown down that second assimilator just so he can't gas steal, and I am going to be going into the 3-gate expand, but that is not the reason I actually throw that down. So we'll see what happens in due time. So oSkCrazzy is just going to be going for a very standard build at this point. He is getting that Zergling speed, and he has a queen on the way. I am going to be doing a weird wall off here because I hate the way this ramp is structured. I like the ramp's position. I feel it's a better position than it was before, but I really don't like walling in here, so I end up doing crazy building placement against Zerg. So I did get myself slightly silocked, and let's go to that name thing. That's pretty cool. And I'm just going to be chasing this drone around, making sure he can't do anything too tricky, and my cybernetics core has gone up. So, as you can probably tell at this point, as from the second assimilator really early, I am going to be going for a way more gas-heavy build, and that's ultimately going to be leading on to something a little bit different from the normal PvZ standard-ishness. So oSkCrazzy did get that expansion down, as I did not block it in time because I'm pretty much playing badly, I guess. And to a certain degree, I'm playing quite badly in this game in general, so don't read anything too much into that. I will analyse what I'm doing in turn. So I am going to be throwing that Twilight Council, and at this point I'm thinking I really don't want him to spot this, so ultimately I'm going to be pumping out a Stalker anytime soon. There is an Overlord on the way, and I knew that there would indeed be an Overlord on the way, and actually I'm not too bothered going into this game if he does spot this Twilight Council, because that could lead him to believe anything that is going on. But ultimately, if he does see it, that's a bit of a nuisance, but if he does see it also, it doesn't really matter too much. So just continuing probe production, that next Twilight Council is finished, and I have a lot of gas saved up, and a lot of minerals in fact, and 2 probes here being quite idle, and I am going to be throwing down that Dark Shrine, so pretty much going for a DT rush in essence, but it does lead on to something quite interesting. I've dabbled around with the build order completely in order to be able to kind of structure it as I want it, but you'll see in time what happens. I'll explain later on what I've been doing against Zerg, and in fact I have pretty much a 99% win rate on ladder against Zerg using similar builds to this, so just bear with me. We do have 2 gateways going down, and in fact the last person I did beat with this was Masters League, so yeah, you can read into whatever you want. Beating Masters, I guess, isn't too much of a big deal nowadays, but you know, whatever, masters is masters. So he does have a spine crawler going down as well as Zerglings, and at this point I'm assuming that he assumes it's either Blink Stalkers, but as any good Zerg will do, if they do scout that Twilight Council, they will get their lair pretty fast. So normally I can actually deny the scouting of that Twilight Council pretty well. But for the sake of this game, I didn't prevent the scouting of that Twilight Council, and indeed the Zerg is reacting in the best way that he possibly can do. So, after he did see that, I am going to be throwing down the Nexus, and this Nexus is pretty bare right now. You know, this build ultimately is pretty vulnerable to, like, Zerg all-ins or whatever, but I mean, if you do have the kind of slight inkling that the Zerg is going to be doing an all-in, then you can indeed just kind of throw down sentries and not expand at this point in time. I felt quite safe expanding at this time because I had scouted the fact that he wasn't doing some crazy all-in or whatever. So I'm going to be getting 2 sentries in order to be able to deal with that. So I am going to be blocking this entrance off here, which is always what I do on this map. I really don't like having 2 entrances into my base. Pretty bad force field placement there, but not enough Zerglings here to really cause me any massive harm. I'm going to be warping in a few more Zealots as well. That Stalker did go down, but not too bad a loss for me there at that point. I only lost a Stalker and he lost quite a lot of Zerglings. We do have my Dark Shrine finished at this point, and I'm not continuing pro production. I'm not sure why, pretty useless. And I'm going to be warping in a Dark Templar. He is ready for this though, as you can see. He does have Overseers out on the field, and my expansion has finished. I need to be transferring some guys from there very, very soon. I'm going to be sending out these 2 DTs to do a slight bit of harass them. But for the most part, on ladder, this kind of DT rush into expansion thing that I've been doing is very, very good. And ultimately, it does lead into a second bit of the tactic, which, again, is also rather strong. And he is going to be getting glial reconstitution for his roaches, though. Even though he doesn't have any roaches out, that Dark Templar has been spotted, and this one has been spotted as well. So really nice placement of that Overlord, and ultimately that Dark Templar does go down. But this one did sneak past, and he really didn't notice it for a while. He does indeed now know that there is one there, and I did get a drone kill, which isn't too bad. We do have 2 kills on that guy, so we did get 2 drone kills, in fact. And he is going to be bringing that Overseer in order to be able to see what is going on in the base as well. So at this point I am warping in more Dark Templar, and I'm going to be throwing down another 2 assimilators in order to be able to deal with anything that does go on. But that being said, I mean, ultimately the Dark Templar harass has already paid for itself, in the sense that it delayed mining here for so long. Such a massive, massive delay there, as he did bring all his drones down here and ultimately was just not mining at all. No gas was being mined, no minerals or anything. So he did bring this Overseer in, and I am going to be trying to pick this off with this. He's really just on this path here, not being too careful with this Overseer at all. Bit careless on his part, but at this point I am going to be researching Zealot Charge and just morphing in more Dark Templar. As it's just what I do in this build, yeah. So he is going to be getting a second hatchery for his 3rd base, and I really need to drone up here because this is really not well saturated at all. I really like looking back at these replays and commentating on them because ultimately it helps me play quite a lot, as well as is entertaining for you guys if you enjoy it, so it doesn't really matter too much for either way. So I'm going to be morphing my Dark Templars into Archons, and Archons are the least used unit ever, and they are so good. Oh my god, they are so good in PvZ. I cannot believe how good they are, and I cannot believe they are not used as much as people should do, because as I said before, I have such a good win rate with Archons, this build even, or a variation of this build on ladder, and it's, oh my god, it's so strong. What I normally do with this build is I will normally grab myself 2 base. I will normally get a forge a lot earlier than this, and I will begin upgrading two plus 3 weapons. And once plus 3 weapons hits for the Archons, they do so much damage to Zerg, because most of Zerg's units, if not all, are biological. And apart from things like biological psionic. So everything pretty much of Zerg's is biological. So you are pretty much guaranteed to get bonus damage on everything with Archons, since they do more damage to biological. And their upgrades do so much more damage, not to mention its splash as well, and it just rips through things like hell. So basically what I'm doing with this build is I'm getting my Zealots with Zealot Charge in order to be able to tank as much damage as possible, and then just ploughing into them with mass Archons. And it does, I'm not not joking, it just does so much damage, especially if you do have +3. So I am getting that +1 on the way. In this game, my forges are very late, I must admit. And in fact, I should be expanding at this point, since I'm pretty sure I could defend anything with these, especially with some kind of force fields that do go down. I'm actually considering, with this build, working in hallucination and hallucinating some Archons as well in order to be able to just kind of throw my opponent off even more. Granted, they do already have that Overseer out, and ultimately it wouldn't be able to do too much damage, but it'd just be a bit annoying, I must admit. So we'll have to see how that goes. So I do notice that these are changelings, and I'm going to be able to pick those off quite well. And at this point, I'm just kind of wanting to poke in with these units once the +1 does hit, and see how much damage I can do. But just, oh my god, just watch. It's crazy stuff. But again, this goes a lot better with +3, and I have had massive success with the +3 weapons, but just, oh my god, Roaches versus Archons, it's amazing. So we are charging in here, throwing down a Guardian Shield, trying to soak up as much damage as possible. The Guardian Shield is a little bit out of place, but I did move it into place in order to be able to negate as much damage on these. And look at how much damage these Archons tank. The thing is, you get these tier 3 units and a mass of them so fast, they just don't die ever. And ultimately, if you want to pull back and force field off your opponents, you can do that and just kind of just recharge your shields so fast. I must admit also, I want to be able to work in shield upgrades for the Archons as well, as it would lead to an even more one-sided victory. I must admit my opponent wasn't the best in this situation, but I have beaten much stronger opponents with this, and you should see Roach Hydra just melt to mass Archons. It just gets totally decimated, and if I may bring 1 or 2 more replays if you want to see them of this build, or a variation of this build once again, but it's just such a strong combination that it works so well against Ling Muta, it works so well against Ling Baneling Muta, Ling Baneling, Roach Hydra. I really can't think of anything that Zerg can do against this other than be ridiculously aggressive in the early game, because it's so strong. And some people have spoken to me, talked to me about it, saying like, well, why not just get Colossus? I really don't like Colossus going into the later game, because Corruptors are just so strong against them, and I find that my game sense isn't good enough to be able to deal with that. So just plow into them with Archons, yeah, you may as well. So anyway, thank you very much guys for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a little bit of an uneventful game, especially since the DT harass didn't do too much, but it normally does. So yes, regardless, thank you very much for watching this guys. Please subscribe if you enjoy what you see, and I will see you guys next time.